What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Adobe Photoshop Masterclass course. We are ending off the advanced section, and this is going to be an awesome run through from start to finish of combining actually a whole bunch of the stuff that we've learned so far and actually sort of just putting the cherry on top of the cake, basically, or the icing on top of the cake, whatever that saying is. You know, I'm not really a sayings kind of guy, but I'm going to tell you right now that we have some resources for you guys to download, and out of these resources, we're going to build an album cover. Now, obviously, we're going to create most of this stuff in Scratch and Photoshop, and then we're going to animate it pretty nicely, but I want to make an animated album cover in Photoshop. So first off, album covers are square, so let's go up here to New, and let's go ahead and make a brand new 1080p by 1080p document, which means it's square. It's the same dimensions vertically as it is horizontally, and pretty much we're set with this square right here, right? Awesome. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and untick the lock button on the background, and I want to go ahead and get our paint brush, right? And I want to actually go ahead and actually make the background sort of like a bluish color, right? Maybe like that, or you know, we could even sort of get maybe like a darker green. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the background a dark green and go ahead and add a little bit of shade to it first. So let's go ahead and get a little bit of gradient overlay. First add that. We know that literally just the addition of a gradient overlay from black to white, dark to light, adds a real nice just more to the image. It adds more. There's no two ways. Now we could also mess around with a pattern a little bit. I'm going to throw that on there for now, but we'll see what we kind of mess with later down the road. But green with that sort of pattern right there is looking okay. The pattern, by the way, is looking like a water. That's looking like the water pattern. Soft light, about 72%. Okay? It's looking pretty decent indeed. Now, what I want to do is I want to set it up looking like an album cover. So let's go ahead and get the parental advisory. Most albums have it, right? Unless you're listening to some you know, some child stuff. It's usually got this right here. So let's pop that down there. In fact, I might even scale it in a little bit so it doesn't actually connect with the bottom, but it sits there. And I'm going to go ahead and incorporate the blending modes. We know we've messed with the blending modes. I might even pop screen there to get rid of the black, or I might actually just go ahead and have a look through and see if we could find a blending mode that actually sort of works to our favor. Now, at the moment, it's looking like screen up there might have been the nicest one, maybe even overlay. So for the time being, I'm just going to go with overlay. In fact, I might even make it a little bit smaller and maybe even pop it down here, right? Whatever the case may be. But I'm going to go ahead and have the parental advisory explicit content badge right there, like most, you know, kind of albums do. You know, they've usually got that. Next, what I want to do is I want to position ourselves for our title. Now, for our title, I want to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be incorporating the brush tool, right? And I actually want to go ahead and make a brand new layer. And I want to go up to our brushes, and I want to get a custom brush, right? Or not a custom brush, but a wet media brush. So usually we'll be in our general brushes, right? Where it's soft and round. You know, it's okay, but I want to get something that looks a little bit more penciled on. So let's get the wet media brush. And let's scroll down to maybe, I'm going to have a look at Kyle's Real Oils. That's looking kind of nice right there. Maybe even Kyle's Real Oils 1, okay? And essentially what I want to go ahead and do is come up here, change the color to white, and we've got this brush right here, as you can see. Now, it's looking pretty cool, but what I want to do is I want to maybe make it at least double, so maybe at least 120, something like that. And then I want to go ahead and draw a line across the screen, but what I also want to do is make that even bigger. It's got to be bigger. Probably, yeah, around that. That's looking good. And this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to draw one line across the middle just like that, and make sure it's on its own layer, okay? Then what I want to do is I actually want to turn it off. Make a new layer, and draw another line in the same position. Turn it off, turn that other layer on so we can have a look at the slight difference. Then I want to make a third layer, and again, draw straight through the middle. So essentially we have 3 different slight variations of this streak down the middle. And, you know, if you've observed many album posters over the course of your life, you may be catching on to what I'm going to do here, all right? But I'll give it a second real quick, all right? And what I want to do is I want to actually animate this first so that this actually is changing. So it changes each half a second maybe, or, you know, each second, whatever. It changes to a different draw, right? So it actually looks like we're maybe redrawing it every single time. And then I'm going to actually have different text with different fonts popping up every single time. So essentially, we want to go up here and open up our timeline. Go to Window, go down to Timeline, open that one up, Create Video Timeline. Now down here, we want the bottom layer, the background. In fact, we could even start doing our naming to keep things a little bit more organized. We're going to call this background. That one's parental advisory, so that's already named. This one I'm going to call text bar 1, and I'm actually going to copy that so I can go over here, highlight, and just paste it, and then just change the number, right? So we've got background, parental advisory, text bar 1, text bar 2, text bar 3. Awesome. Looking pretty cool. But what I want to do is I want to actually go over here to probably about a third of a second, and I want to go ahead and select text bar 1, text bar 2, put a chop in them, and delete it. So essentially it starts off there, and also I want to go over here, and throughout the course of 1 second, I want it to transition 3 different times. So also every time it changes, I want to make sure I cut out the one below. So essentially it's fully changing the bar, right? And it's changing a slight position, as you see right here, a slight position, and it's slightly drawn a little bit different, right? So it's changing as we go. And then I want to just loop that. So I want to come back here, go ahead and copy these guys, press Control-C, Control-V, drag these guys to the end here, and just go ahead and highlight them all one more time, Control-C, Control-V, bring them to the absolute end. Stuff should sort of lock, all right? So when we've done that, in fact, we could even Control-C, Control-V one more time and get a full 5 seconds, right? So we've got our full 5-second sequence right here. And more or less what this is, if we play, is literally just changing around, as we see right here. It's just literally switching around bit by bit, and overall, it's just changing, right? Now, in fact, what I could do is it's looking like it goes a little bit slow. I probably could have seen that one coming. I'm not going to lie. So what I might actually do is I might just go ahead and do the half of it again. So I'm going to trim that one down there, pull that one over, trim it down to about half the size, pull it over, trim it down to about half the size, and then let's actually just go ahead and delete everything above here, delete everything above here. I'm just highlighting it all at once, and then we can actually go ahead and just duplicate this shorter version, right? So again, I'm literally just clicking the bottom one, holding shift, clicking the top one, pressing Control-C, Control-V, copy pasting everything highlighted, Control-C, Control-V again, copy pasting everything highlighted, Control-C, Control-V, and more or less we now have a moving image. If we go here and play, in fact, I might even go ahead and get the zoom tool and just zoom out a little bit, right? We now are going to have a moving image in the middle, as you see. So it's looking like it's drawn each different time, and that's looking pretty cool to me. All right, personally, I'm digging it. Right now, one final thing I want to do is just go ahead and complete this. Control-C, Control-V. Make sure it gets to all the way to the 5-second mark. I think one more set will do it, and just like that, we're at the 5-second mark. Awesome. So I filled up my timeline. We can scroll down. It's looking like a fair few. It's looking like the staircase to heaven right here, right? However, if we press Control-S and save our project, let's go ahead and save it into album cover. I'm going to call this one album cover, right? Now if we go ahead and play, we've built this. It's looking pretty nice, and it's changing around. We've got this sort of this middle bit, and it's flickering back and forth. Now what I want to go ahead and do is actually go ahead and go to the first layer and actually go ahead and write out our album cover. Now this album cover right here, I'm going to go ahead and call Greatest Hits Mixtape, right? I'm just trying to come up with the most generic album cover title ever, right? So as we see, I'm calling this one Greatest Hits Mixtape, all right? So Greatest Hits Mixtape, or you know, we might even do the Masterclass Mixtape, the Masterclass Mixtape, all right? A funny little name. It's defaulted our font, right? The Masterclass Mixtape, I'm going to go ahead and position right here. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it all, and I'm going to go ahead and get Gotham font, which is the font I'm rocking with, right? And I'll make sure to attach this, and I'm going to have it on the default Gotham font, which I believe just should be straight up normal, just Gotham. In fact, I don't even know if they let you even have just a straight up normal. So I'm just going to go with Gotham. Is there a Gotham regular or just a Gotham book? So it's looking like that's Gotham book. We're just going to call that one Masterclass Mixtape. Go ahead and position that right about there. Now if we scroll up, we've got this right here, as you see. What I want to do is I want to bring this one, or what I could do is actually just scroll over until it changes, and then just literally go ahead and cut it right there. And now we can get our Masterclass Mixtape, highlight it, and go ahead and just change this one to, for example, let's go ahead and highlight it. Maybe we switch to Gotham Black now, right? Or maybe we switch entirely. I think what we should do is just switch entirely, I think. So now let's change font fully. We're going to call this one Masterclass Mixtape as well. Delete that little random space at the end. Bring this one to the middle, scale it up a little bit, and just like that, we've got the next Masterclass Mixtape. So it goes from that to the, right, third one. We scroll over until we've actually found the next chop. We chop it down, and then we actually go ahead and change Masterclass Mixtape to a final font. And maybe I'm literally just scrolling through random fonts here and just having a look at what looks different, right? I like the idea that stuff's changing around. Masterclass Mixtape, that could be the final one right there. And we could even bring that up a little bit more so it's progressed in size as well. And now what we're going to do is when we scroll over until that next change, we can actually go ahead and chop that down. And we have, go ahead and make sure the timeline isn't flying over everywhere. By the way, if the timeline does go crazy and you lose it, go ahead and just find the blue at the bottom and drag and drop it there. But now what we've got is this Masterclass Mixtape changing around. And now we can actually highlight these three. Control-C, Control-V, copy it, drag them over, go to the bottom, highlight them, Control-C, Control-V, copy them up, bring them over, go to the top, all the way to the bottom. Go ahead and scroll down, highlight them all, Control-C, Control-V, drag them on over, right? Drag them on over, and we can go to the beginning and play it. Just like that, we've got the Masterclass Mixtape is actually sort of flying around, right? And it's looking like we are now in the position we would want to go ahead and get that Masterclass Mixtape. Go ahead and actually position it correctly. Masterclass Mixtape, position it correctly. Position it correctly. And we're now dealing with a pretty cool graphic that's tweaking around. And it's looking like the positions were off a little bit, so we just got to keep on going over, get the position, make sure it's corrected, get the position, make sure it's corrected. So ideally, make sure everything's looking good from the start, but we've duplicated everything, so it's looking like there's a small mishap on my behalf, but it's all good. I'm literally just dragging stuff over, and it's looking like a bit more of a small mix-up. I'm not too sure how that even happened, but we're dragging it over, and we should be getting this this effect now where it's changing font and it's staying in the middle of the screen. And this is looking pretty cool because this is definitely an animated poster right now, an animated album cover. Go ahead and bring that one over here. Bring that one over here. By all means, use any font that you guys are thinking. Essentially, just a few different fonts to mess around with to make it look like it's actually realistically changing around. And these last final few are looking okay. Bring that one down. Bring that one down, and bring that one down. And just like that, if we come to the beginning, we now, in fact, use the zoom tool to zoom out so we got some perspective. But we have a album cover that's changing around just like that. And what we can actually go ahead and do is decide to, go ahead and just highlight these last three. Copy, paste them. We want to make sure we're filling the entire 5 seconds. Copy, paste, bring it over, and we have successfully built this, right? Wonderful. Looking 10 out of 10. We can go ahead and play that, and it's looking pretty cool. It's looking like an animated poster right there. But posters obviously have characters on them. So I want to go ahead and get my headshot. My headshot is the next element we're going to introduce to this. And we're literally just going to drag and drop it in. Boom. Drag and drop it. In fact, we should bring that to the actual start of the timeline. We can actually go ahead and just close the timeline for the time being. And we've got our headshot right here. Now, we want to stay organized. So we noticed that our project here has turned to chaos. So it's actually highlight the Masterclass Mixtape, scroll all the way down, hold Shift, and click the bottom one. Drag and drop that to a folder and call that text. And it's actually looking like we want to go ahead and undo that because of the fact that each one of them is at a certain position, and putting it into a folder seems to screw up the integrity of it. So you have to be careful about little things like that. Maybe attempting to do it from a different angle. No, it's looking like that right there wants to stay. So we're just going to have to leave these guys how they are. Leave them do that thing right now. These are obviously frames, so it's a little bit different than just putting everything into one sort of situation. And overall, what we can now do is get our headshot. Let's go ahead and drag that one down here to the absolute bottom of the pile. We know it's dragging because we see our thing on the side dragging over. And we want to position this under the actual text bars themselves, because what I want to do is I want to actually have me sort of hovering above this that's going on right here. And the way I want to do that is I want to highlight just me, and I want to single me out as a character. So let's get our all selection tool, and let's just start drawing around me, right? And it might start highlighting other stuff at first, which it definitely has, but we can simply just use the minus, which is simply changed, right? And we can actually remove some of the selection as well. So let's minus out any selection we don't want. Let's plus up the selection that we do want. And let's actually go ahead and position this to be its own graphic, right? Boom, just like that. Dusting it up. press Control C and Control V, and what we've done is we can delete the bottom where we've just got me singled out. Now let's zoom in a little bit. Let's touch up some of these edges real quick. All right, touch up a couple of these edges. Oops, looking like we might want a little bit more of a firm brush with that one, right? Just touching up some of those edges a little bit. It's looking like there's a line up there which wasn't. So you see there's a. Make sure we're not doing any damage to the actual character itself, me. Make sure these are as sort of smooth as you can. We're just smoothing out those edges right there. And by the way, if the brush doesn't come up, make sure that your caps lock isn't on. As you see, the brush didn't come up there, but if I turn my caps lock off, it is. And now what we can do is we can actually open up this timeline, right? Timeline, bring it over, and scroll back up, or scroll down. We're going to need to get our me, drag this actually above this right here, or on its own timeline actually, Control Z a couple times, undo it, drag this over here, zoom out a little bit, and now we're looking at the first particular situation right here, which is this, right? And we can actually go ahead and get an eraser tool, go ahead and just turn that up on soft, and go ahead and erase through me right there. Then scroll over, actually go ahead and chop it down, get me, and actually just go ahead and position me up a little bit, just like that. Then move over again, go to this position right here, chop me, and even position me down a little bit. And then come over here, chop it again, and come back to the beginning. So essentially we've got a change here, and then a change here, which this one right here, we'd probably want to maybe scale down a bit again, right? So essentially what I want to do is just have a slight change when stuff's happening. So as we see, just like that, we've got the change. Now we can go here, go to the top, press Control C, Control V, which is copy paste. Then highlight them all, Control C, Control V, paste it up, and we go here to actually play it this time to make sure everything's looking good. And we've got this, oh, there we go, a change around, and it looks like as soon as we copy it, we're gonna need to bring that one back up, and there is a glitch. So it's the type of stuff that you want to be careful with, because if you go too far ahead, you're going to come back and have to fix a bunch of stuff. But overall, if you do go a little bit more frame by frame, which I've not been doing for the sake of example's sake, right? But if you go a little bit more frame by frame, you are able to create stuff. And just like that, you see we've got this moving back and forth sort of situation. We can go here and highlight these ones. Control C, Control V. Drag these guys over, and this that should just be a glitch right there. Go ahead and go ahead and delete. And for this, what I'm literally just going to go ahead and do is drag that one out to the 5-second mark. Oh, it's gone over. Drag it to the 5-second mark, and just actually go over manually and bit by bit change stuff. So just like that, going to chop that one out, and I'm literally just going to go ahead and make that one a bit smaller, maybe move it over there a bit. So I just want this this effect that everything's just changing around a little bit, all right? So essentially we've got this move it around sort of effect like that, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I think it still might be easiest just to Control C, Control V, copy everything, bring it over, go here, oh, go right there, grab me, drag me up, go over, get me, drag me up a bit again, get me, drag me up a bit, and more or less, oh, it's going a little bit crazy. Bring this one over here. Be careful. Come to the beginning. Go ahead and play this one. And just like that, it is, oh, glitch it a little bit. let's get me right here. Drag me up a little bit. Get this one right here. Drag me up a little bit. Get this one right here. Drag me up a little bit, and pretty much just repeat this process until we have a completed situation. Let's go ahead and grab that one to that one, Control C, Control V, drag them all over, drag them all over, drag them all over. Then again, simply lift me up, go over, lift me up. And again, our timeline's going all crazy. But pretty much this is the process. Go through, get it going. Again, this is basically stop motion animation, guys, right? So keep in mind, stop motion animation is definitely something that takes a little while. It's not something that is an overnight process. the exporting side definitely is not an overnight process as well. But overall, what we've done by the end of this is create an animated album cover, and we can actually Control-C, Control-V, copy paste these guys, bring them over, and just go ahead and make sure everything is fixed and looking pretty good. And I believe it is going to be looking pretty good, just like that. Control-C, Control-V, the final three. Come over, drag that one up, drag this one up as well, and drag this final one up as well. Control-C, Control-V, there is one final one. Simple as that. We've done it. I'm going to press Control-S, save everything, come to the start, and just go ahead and give it a play. And just like that, we've got this pretty cool situation that's all flickering around, and it's looking pretty dope if I do say so myself. So that right there is the actual animated part of me, the masterclass mixtape. We've got that animating right there. We can actually just go ahead and close the panel, and I can actually just go ahead and actually, no, I'm going to want to open the panel so I can keep track of what's going on. But I think I want to go ahead and get my my parental advisory and just make that a little bit smaller, or actually maybe even a little bigger, and just pop that right about there. So essentially what we're going to have going on is this sort of mixtape madness thing going on up there, and then the parental advisory sort of just chilling right there below it. And essentially that right there is the animated album cover. Now there's a couple different things I might try out, right, which is just to add a little bit more to it, which would maybe be some background. So maybe try and import a background, bring it over here, and almost have that right there at the absolute tibbity top of it all. As you see, I'm dragging up to the absolute top. We're gonna get that to the top and go ahead and just try a couple blending modes to see what happens if we blend a couple things in, make a couple things look a little bit more together, just like that. And I might even go ahead and make it not a smart object and literally just get a soft round, literally maybe like up to 1,000, and just click a little bit over me, just so that my face is a little bit more visible and not fully encompassed by everything. But just like that, we can actually go ahead and have that little overlay, give this a play, and just like that, that's looking like a pretty cool little graphic that we've animated together called the Masterclass Mixtape. You, me, and McGee whipped it up. I'm hoping we go platinum. I'm hoping we go viral. But if we go ahead and press Control-Shift-S, we can go over here to the GIF, go ahead and export this as album cover. Go ahead and press OK. Wait for it to sort of figure it out. GIF save options. Don't be too hasty here. Just go ahead and press OK and let it do its thing. Let it save. There's a bunch of frames that it has to compile. Just like that, it really didn't take too long. We can click over here and get our album cover. And just like that, people, we have an animated album cover called the Masterclass Mixtape, whipped up in not too long of a period of time. How long did that take us? 15, 20 minutes, something like that. I told you it might be a two-parter, this final episode here, but I think we combined a bunch of cool stuff to actually whip up the Masterclass Mixtape. It's changing fonts, it's changing around, and overall we explored a couple cool things that I'm personally very happy with. So that right there is the Adobe Photoshop Masterclass Advanced section, done and dusted. Congratulations for making it through. I understand that might give you a seizure if we keep playing it, so let's just turn it off. Go ahead and close the timeline and have a look at the singular frame of our Photoshop masterpiece, if you will, our album cover. We're going to come back with the bonus section coming up, guys. We've done all the actual hands-on, teaching stuff. The bonus section is where we actually get into a bunch of nitty and gritty real live projects, just like this kind of was, but even more, realistic, even more real representations of stuff you've actually interact with and actually run into in the legitimate graphic design world. So without further ado, we got the bonus section coming up next. That right there is going to be the real nitty and gritty. Thank you guys for tuning into the advanced section, and thank you for, I'm glad I've held your attention throughout the entire course so far. We are on the fringe of the real good stuff. It's about to get to it.